Welcome to today's Explainer. Have you ever watched a classic detective movie and kind of wondered to yourself, is the perfect crime actually possible today? Well, as we're going to see, modern technology, specifically this incredible marriage of cyber forensics and artificial intelligence, is making it almost impossible for anyone to just vanish without a trace. Okay, let's dive right into this. So how exactly does a killer escape the police for 19 whole years, only to be caught by a computer? It honestly sounds like a plot from a sci-fi movie, right? But it is pure, documented reality. Today, we're opening up the modern detective's toolkit. We're going to be analyzing two completely baffling cold cases. One that stumped investigators for 2 full years, and another that literally sat frozen in time for almost 2 decades. By the end of this explainer, you're going to understand exactly how invisible digital footprints and predictive algorithms are completely rewriting the rules of criminal investigation. All right, let's start with our very first mystery. This is the case of a 22-year-old jeweler's son. He came from a wealthy family, lived in a small village, and then one day he just goes missing. And tragically, his body is eventually found dumped near some local railway tracks. Now, despite an enormous effort, multiple investigating officers, and even senior police leadership getting involved, the case just went completely cold. It stumped authorities for 2 full years. They threw absolutely everything they had at it, and they just kept hitting a massive brick wall. To really understand why this was so difficult, let's walk through how that fatal night actually unfolded. At 8 p.m., the young man receives a phone call. His mother distinctly remembers seeing him talking on his phone. He tells his family he's just stepping out for a bit and will be right back. But by 10 or 11 p.m., he hasn't returned. His parents are getting anxious, so they go to the police station. The police tell them, hey, he'll probably just be back in the morning. But the very next morning, his body is found hardly 4 to 5 kilometers from his own house. So the absolute crucial point here is that 8 p.m. phone call. Someone called him out. But who in the world was it?
Now, you might be thinking, finding a suspect in a small town should be pretty easy, right? Well, investigators actually had 16 to 17 initial suspects. And to make matters incredibly complicated, some of these suspects were actually police personnel themselves. The investigating officers desperately needed to narrow this list down to figure out who was actually with the victim that night. But they immediately ran into a massive, frustrating technical roadblock.
Here was the problem. The village was so small that it literally only had one single cell tower. So when the police checked the location data for all 17 suspects, the tower just showed that everyone was right there in the village. It was completely useless for pinpointing a killer. But then, cyber experts brought in a level 1 intervention. Using the victim's SIM card, they managed to hack into his own Gmail account to access his Google dashboard. And this was a game changer. Unlike a super broad cell tower ping, his Google dashboard tracked his precise walking path. It showed exactly how he walked straight from his house to the ruins near the railway station. He didn't wander around. He was called out to that specific isolated spot.
But, just as the digital trail was finally getting warm, the physical investigation completely exploded. The victim's own father actually marched right into the police station carrying a bottle of petrol, threatening them. He said, "Stop the investigation or I will set myself on fire." Crazy, right? But why? Well, because the police were grilling dozens of local people and it was causing immense defamation for the family. On top of that, the police had previously accessed the victim's Google Drive and found photos of him with his sister-in-law. This led to wild local rumors, and police suspicion even fell on the victim's brother, who, by the way, had an airtight alibi. So the pressure to just close this case was absolutely immense.
This meant the cyber investigators had to look way closer at the victim's phone. Remember that 8 p.m. phone call his mother saw him take? Well, when investigators pulled the standard call detail records, the CDRs, there was absolutely zero record of a call, nothing. When they checked WhatsApp for audio calls, completely blank. So, if normal call records showed absolutely nothing, who was he talking to? To solve this puzzle, the experts had to dig into a layer of data that most people don't even know exist. When standard phone records completely fail, investigators pull something called an IPDR. That stands for Internet Protocol Detailed Record. Now, an IPDR doesn't just show your standard phone calls. It tracks the exact ports and IP addresses your phone connects to. Think about the smartphone sitting in your pocket right now. IPDR data reveals the specific hidden internet apps and services it's actively using, even if you go in and delete the app or clear the call log. And when the experts looked at the victim's IPDR data right around that 8 p.m. mark, they found an IP address connecting to a highly unusual application. That IPDR data pointed directly to an app called Blued. It's a highly prominent gay dating app, and this discovery, it instantly unlocked a completely secret parallel angle to this 22-year-old victim's life, an angle that his family, his friends, and all 17 of those initial suspects knew absolutely nothing about. Suddenly, the cyber team realized that the fatal 8 p.m. call wasn't a standard cellular phone call at all, and it wasn't a WhatsApp ping. It was a VoIP call, essentially an internet data call, made directly through the Blued app. So the investigators quickly downloaded the Blued app, logged into the victim's recovered account, and just started reading through the chat logs. And it immediately led them right to the killer. The perpetrator was a bisexual male located in Bhopal. They had connected via the app, but apparently the victim was seeing multiple people. So this suspect traveled all the way from Bhopal, called the victim out to those isolated railway ruins using the app's internet calling feature, and committed the murder. The motive? Extreme, unbearable jealousy over the victim's multiple partners. After 2 agonizing years of complete dead ends, a single, hidden internet protocol record cracked the entire case wide open. All right, let's move on to our second scenario and see how this whole thing builds into even more advanced territory. Case number 2, the 19-year-old ghost. This one involves a horrific triple murder that took place down in Tamil Nadu. After committing the crime, the killer simply vanished. No traces, no clues, and absolutely no digital footprint at the time. For 19 long years, this case just sat in a filing cabinet as a completely unsolvable mystery. Decades pass. Then, a new superintendent of police arrives in the district. He decides he's going to dust off these old files and reopen these unsolved murders. But he immediately faces an impossible challenge. How in the world do you catch a fugitive when all you have to go on is a 19-year-old photograph? I mean, people age, they change their hair, they gain weight, they completely alter their everyday appearance. A 19-year-old photo is basically useless for any standard facial recognition software, so the police decided to turn to the absolute cutting edge of digital forensics. They launched an AI manhunt. Here is exactly how they did it. First, investigators input that grainy 19-year-old photograph into some highly specialized AI image processing tools. Step 2, they command the AI to predict and generate what this exact man would look like today across dozens of different getups. Like, what if he's bald now? What if he grew a thick beard? What if he wears glasses? Step 3, they take all these AI-generated aging predictions and run them through massive social media facial matching databases. And step 4, boom, they get a match. They actually track him down and arrest the fugitive all the way in Pondicherry. But before we look at the exact details of his capture, I really want you to realize just how powerful this technology actually is. Think about the security cameras you walk past every single day. AI is now capable of literally reconstructing reality. Let me give you an example. The Maharashtra Cyber Lab once demonstrated an AI tool using a video of a car parked at such a severe angle that the human eye could not possibly read the license plate. But see, the AI doesn't look at an image the way you or I do. It looks at raw, visible pixels. By analyzing whatever pixels are available, the AI can mathematically predict and reconstruct the hidden numbers and letters, generating the exact license plate. And that same predictive pixel power is exactly what reconstructed our 19-year-old ghost's face. And that AI reconstruction is exactly what finally pierced the fugitive's armor. Even though he had fled to Pondicherry, even though he had actually changed his religion, and even though he had assumed a completely new identity to integrate into a totally new community, it just wasn't enough. The AI-generated image of him with an aged, bearded face perfectly matched a photo that he had uploaded to his new social media profile. 19 years of hiding in plain sight, completely undone by an algorithm predicting how a human face would age. Just incredible. So we've seen a murderer tracked down by a single hidden app connection recorded deep in a Google dashboard. And we've seen a 19-year-old cold case blown wide open by AI predicting the wrinkles on a fugitive's face. So I'm going to leave you with this question. With AI tracking our aged faces and IPDR tracking our hidden apps, is the perfect crime officially extinct? Technology has evolved from simply recording data to actively predicting and uncovering the secrets we think we've buried. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.